welcome to From the Shack. This is our 12th programme. Now, the sun shines back and we hope you're doing a lot of great barbecuing. And England are winning. Now, Elky, how are you and how are you enjoying the football?
Mate, absolutely loving the football. Obviously, England beating Germany 2-0. I mean, that's the stuff of dreams. I had a few people over at the Shack. We celebrated the goals. Oh, did we celebrate those goals? And I had a bit of a sore head the next day. Now, because of the timing that we've recorded this, I've now no idea if England are still in the Euros or they're out and I'm crying into my cornflakes this morning. So let's hope they're still in, and I'm looking forward to a final on Sunday.
Let's hope so. Let's hope England are still in, and good luck, England. Now, let's see what's coming up in today's show.
Coming up, Elky shows us how to grill a monster of a double-cut pork chop infused with Asian flavours. Neal takes a trip to the seaside and creates a king prawn risotto with scallops on his Kamado Joe. Our special guest is Jason Webb from ETI, the creators of Thermapen. And in What's Cooking, we take a look at what you, the barbecue community, have been up to. Welcome to From the Shack.
Lots coming up in today's show. Now, Elky, you posted a fire-cooked cedar plank salmon video on YouTube this week. The cook looked amazing. How was it?
It was an interesting cook, to say the least. This was one of those days where I kind of tried to shoot a few dishes in a single day, but that day was gale force winds. I had a new videographer working for me. It was gale force winds. I mean, my microphone, the little fairy button on the microphone flew off within the first 5 minutes. I mean, it was carnage. So I did it in the Joe Junior rather than do it on my fire stand. Did it in the Joe Junior, got a little fire on the go. But yeah, everything that could go wrong went wrong. I mean, the bottoms and the tops of the salmon were charred, but the salmon ended up being incredibly tasty. So it turned out all right in the end.
Were those special nails that you used to hammer the salmon to the plank?
Yeah, so I see a few people using them and I thought they look pretty badass. I need some of those for my cedar plank salmon. So yeah, I found some from some ironmongers online, and yeah, they look good, don't they?
They look fantastic. I'm definitely going to give that salmon a go. Now let's take a look at how you dealt with that monster of a pork chop.
Today, it's all about the pork chop. I'm not talking about any old pork chop, your thin pork chops that have a tendency to dry out. I'm talking about a beast like this double cut pork chop from Philip Warren Butchers. This is a lovely free range pork chop that I'm going to introduce to some Asian flavours, and we're going to put it on the Kamado Joe Classic Free, grill it up, try and get a nice bit of crispy skin on there. But first off, let's make the marinade. So we're going to make a nice simple Asian marinade, starting with some soy sauce. We want around about 60 ml of soy sauce in there, which is about 4 tablespoons. Now to that, we're going to go in with a teaspoon of Shaoxing cooking wine, straight into there. We want some white pepper, 1/4 teaspoon, so don't go too crazy with this stuff, about 1/4 teaspoon, maybe 1/2 teaspoon. And again, with Chinese 5 spice, this has a very strong flavour, so again, about 1/4 teaspoon of 5 spice in there. To that, we're going to go in with about a teaspoon of sesame oil, and lastly, around about a teaspoon of cornstarch. Now give that a good mix to combine all those flavours, and this is going to be our very simple marinade. So you just want to dissolve that cornstarch into there. First thing we're going to do with the pork chop, we want to get some salt on the skin. We want to give us the best possible chance of turning this into crackling, so I'm going to score the skin lengthways and downwards, and we're going to get a load of salt over there, and then we're going to stick the meat into the marinade. So that's been sat in the marinade now for about 20 minutes. I'm just going to give this skin a quick dry, then I'm going to cook it direct on the Kamado Joe. Now I've got the grill grates far enough away from the fire that we can cook this skin side down to start with, just to render out that fat and try and get some crisp crackling on that skin. And then we're going to move it over to the indirect side and finish this off. We're going to take it off when it hits an internal temperature of around about 63 degrees. Once that's off and resting, I've got these pak chois here that we're just going to brush with a little bit of oil and garlic and give them a couple of minutes on the grill. That's all they need. And we've got some shiitake mushrooms as well. So let's crack on and introduce it to some fire. And there we go, we've achieved that beautiful, glorious, crispy skin on there. I've taken it off, as you've seen, at 63 degrees internal temperature. This has been resting now for about 15 minutes. While it's resting, we've done the pak choi and the shiitake mushrooms, a bit of garlic on each, a little bit of oil, a bit of salt, and that is it. That is all it needs. So let's go ahead, slice into this and see exactly how we've done. And there we go, there's my Asian style double cut pork chop with pak choi, shiitake mushrooms. I do hope you'll give it a go. Happy days.
Elky, that pork crackling looks superb. How long did it take to crisp up?
I've got to say that's the best pork crackling I've ever achieved on a pork chop. Now the secret is cook it direct, so I do it on the Kamado Joe, and where the grate is high enough away from the charcoal, you can cook it direct with the fat down over that heat, and you're getting that direct hit of heat without burning it, and it crisps up lovely. Yeah, it works an absolute treat. Now, you've taken a little trip to the seaside recently, haven't you? Should we take a look?
Today in Outdoor Living, I'm going to make a prawn risotto with scallops, and I'm here in Whitstable to pick up the fresh seafood. This creamy king prawn risotto with scallops is delicious. It's easy to make, and the secret is to cook the rice until soft before adding the prawns, as the rice needs a lot longer to cook and you don't want chewy seafood.
Be warned, there's a lot of stirring with this dish, but it's worth it.
The ingredients which will serve 4 people are 500 grams of raw peeled prawns, 15 scallops, 500 grams of risotto rice, a litre of fish stock, 4 shallots, 100 grams of unsalted butter, a lemon, 150 grams of frozen peas, 3 tablespoons of mascarpone, 150 ml of white wine, salt and pepper, 1 clove of garlic, chives and basil for garnish.
I'm going to serve this risotto with crusty bread.
The first thing to do with the scallops is to remove the orange roe and side muscles. The side muscle is a little rectangular piece of tissue. For this task, I've recruited my wife Claire to help. Just pinch the roe and tear away. The side muscle feels tougher than the rest of the scallop, and its muscle fibres run opposite to the fibres in the scallop itself. Once done, give the scallops a quick light rinse under cold water to remove any grit, and then pat dry. Next, chop the garlic and shallots, grate the zest from the lemon and squeeze out its juice.
Prepare your barbecue for direct cooking. I'm using a paella pan for this cook because it's a good size, which will make the cook easier.
Add around 80 grams of the butter to the pan, followed by the shallots and garlic, and cook for around 4 minutes until the shallots have softened. Add the rice and stir until the grains are well coated in the butter. Next, add around 200 ml of the fish stock and stir until a lot of the stock has been absorbed into the rice before adding the white wine and another 200 ml of the fish stock and stir. Continue to add all your fish stock until it's absorbed. Use more if the rice isn't yet cooked. You will see how the consistency of the risotto rice changes and the mixture starts to get much stickier and gooier. This process takes around 30 minutes.
When the rice is done, add seasoning to the risotto, followed by the lemon juice, zest, and the frozen peas.
Now it's time to add the king prawns. Place them onto the rice and cook for a couple of minutes before turning and cooking on the other side. Once they're done, add the mascarpone and fold it into the risotto, cooking for a further minute and then remove from the barbecue. Finally, I dropped the cooking grates to a lower position to be closer to the heat and added the butter to the skillet before frying the scallops for a minute on each side. Add the scallops to the risotto before serving with a sprinkling of chopped chives and basil. This king prawn risotto with scallops is a delicious dish and ideal for a summer's evening.
Now, if you're thinking about upping your barbecue game this summer, why not give Barbecue Barn a call? They've got shops in Sidcup and Leigh-on-Sea, and they're on hand to give you some great advice on which barbecue kit is right for you.
Elky, there's a lot of stirring involved with that risotto, but have you ever made a risotto on the barbecue?
I've never made a risotto full stop. I don't know why. It's something that I've always looked to do and just never got round to, but yours looked absolutely great, so I might have to give it a go.
Now, Elky, would you like to introduce our special guest for the show?
Yep, so our special guest for this show is the Operations Director at ETI. They are the award-winning manufacturer of digital thermometers and, of course, the creator of the well-renowned Thermapen. It's Jason Webb.
Jason, welcome to the show. Can I thank you for being an amazing supporter of the Lockdown Barbecue Show and now From the Shack? Could we start by asking you about the history of Thermapen? How did it all start?
Well, it started many years ago by my parents. They started their business 40 years ago almost. And out of their garage, they produced a little box, a little PCB with the help of my uncle as well. My mum's brother was the designer and my dad was the salesman. And they went out and sold thermometers out of their garage and then moved into a little shop and then produced into a factory similar to what I'm in here today. Actually, if my mum was in the room right now, she'd be saying, she said to my dad once upon a time, "You're barming mad, I think, to create the company. What is the requirement for a thermometer?" And it kind of grew from there. My dad's determination to maybe to prove my mum wrong, who knows? But he's a very, very driven guy who really set his heart on saying, well, I'm going to produce this and I'm going to make it work. The Thermapen is just one product which grew from the range, really designed for the kitchen professionals. And it's been adopted to home users and barbecue professionals like yourselves. And it's much loved around the world before that.
Talking about the Thermapen, obviously there's been a few different variations. I'd imagine the very early models, I mean, what did they look like?
Well, I've actually got a couple here. If you have, I can quickly just show you. So this is what we call the Thermapen one of the original Thermapens we ever produced with a folding probe. And it's got a switch mechanism here, very, very... You know, we get these out of the archives now and then and think, wow, this is we made this, but it's come leaps and bounds. You know, we're talking, this was produced 30 years ago, and it even says made in Broadwater, West Sussex.
So you're based in Sussex. Have you always been based in Sussex? Because I know you're a proper British company. Is Sussex always been your base, is it?
We have 4 factories here in Worthing, and we don't anticipate us moving far afield from Worthing. We love the area. We love everything about it, and really have so much pride to being a British manufacturer of thermometers. We are on the rise. We're increasing the amount of thermometers we're producing each year.
So British-based company, but there's also Thermaworks in the US, isn't there? Can you talk us through the relationship between ETI, Thermapen and Thermaworks?
The relationship is a really unique one, and it's something which we get questioned about quite regularly is, well, who are Thermaworks, who are ETI, who are Thermapen? And, you know, the relationship started about 30 years ago when the 2 owners met of both companies, Peter and Randy Owen, Peter of ETI, and they both shared the same vision. They both shared the same vision for getting good product and good thermometers, and it developed from there. We have so much input in their business, and they have so much input in ETI and our development. So I can't speak highly enough about the development team over at Thermaworks and what they do. They produce some amazing products, and their feedback to us as a manufacturer to producing the Thermapen and other products, it's invaluable, and we thank them very much for that relationship.
That sounds like it's working well.
Jason, how much research goes into manufacturing a thermometer?
So much research. You were thinking about materials. You're thinking about what technology you're putting inside it, and your customer. You got to put your customer at the very forefront of what you're producing. Your blank sheet of paper there needs to come up, have your very clear vision about what the customer really wants. You're then going to go away and make it as robust as possible. We're a British manufacturer, and we're very, very proud of that. And we believe that we're producing some of the most robust thermometers on the market, and that rings true with the Thermapen.
Especially when you're talking about barbecue environments, there's a lot of heat, there's a lot of fire, isn't there? So it needs to be robust, doesn't it?
You have to plan for our manufacturing team. We have to plan for the unexpected, for someone maybe to leave it to very, very close to the hot environment. So the plastics need to be made out of very, very high and weather resistant plastics.
I'm guilty of doing that on one of my Thermapens as well. It still works, but the bit where the metal folds out, where the probe folds out, it's got a slight little bit of melted plastic on there, but it still works the dream. So it's definitely durable. So Jason, your thermometers are used by thousands of chefs, kitchens around the world. Why do you think the business has been so successful?
I put a lot of credit down to my mum and dad, my parents, and they are heavily driven to drive the company forward. When you look around the business, you see people who have also been here for many years. Across our management team, we often calculate how many years of experience within the business they have. And we're talking, our marketing manager has been here for 25 years. Our dispatch and warehouse manager have been here for 25 years. There's so many individuals around the business which keep it ticking. And I think it's got to be the people around the business which have really been contributed to our success.
You can't build a good business without good people, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And you look around our business, we have 200 plus staff now who really help us getting ticking all the time. And, we are growing as well. If I look back, say 5 years ago, we had almost half that amount of staff. Bringing in good people, recruiting good people, keeping those people motivated. I'm a strong believer in managing up, and you've got people being brought into the business who are really improving what we're doing, and they're fantastic.
Jason, the business has won many awards for exporting. Can you tell us what it's like trying to crack new markets overseas?
Yeah, we've won many awards in the last few years for export trade, namely the Queen's Award. So we had recognition from the UK government and Buckingham Palace being able to say, okay, well, Thermapen and ETI are doing some great things down in Sussex. Let's award them with that. We ship all around the world to every corner, every destination. More in some places than the others. I think where we are, say, Western, where we have a similar type of culture. So the US market's very big. You've got South Africa is very big. You've got Australia also. People buy British-made products for their quality, and that's why export trade has been really key for us.
Cooking to temperature, not to time, is obviously a fantastic mantra in barbecue and throughout the rest of cooking. Now, how frustrating do you find it when recipes still use instructions that tell you to cook to time?
It's so frustrating because there's so many variables where one oven can be hotter than another at, say, 200 degrees. And for those people who are getting those recipes, they're cooking this for the very first time. They need as much help as possible. And the Thermapen relates as much to professional chefs as it is to novice. Using a Thermapen, you're going to be able to put a scientific spin onto it, being able to cook to temperature. You know where you're at all times. And really, it takes out any type of guesswork you could think of.
I mean, I've been seriously into barbecue for about 5 or 6 years now, and the Thermapen was obviously one of the first things that I bought, and it is, I mean, the game changer gets used all the time, but it is actually a game changer. But the amount of my friends that come around now when I cook barbecue and they say, how good it is, how juicy it is, that they've all got Thermapens now as well, because, and just to use in the kitchen, not necessarily barbecue as well, because it is, when following instructions to stick a joint of beef in the oven for 3 hours, it's just not going to cut it, is it? So the Thermapen is amazing in that respect.
I think a lot of people's opinions on food quality are down to incorrectly cooked food. You take that, for example, a joint of beef for 3 hours. Well, you and I know it's going to be crucified by the time you serve it, and it's going to be dry and tasteless. And for someone who's entering their meat eating journey and having that as being served up to them, it is well, you and I will believe it's criminal to serve up like that. I like mine rare, and that's only going to be in the oven for maybe even an hour.
An amazing example is turkey, isn't it? I mean, the amount of people that say, "Oh, I don't like turkey at Christmas," it's because they're eating turkey that's just, quite frankly, it's overcooked, doesn't it? And the amount of people that say, "Oh yeah, I'm not a big fan of turkey at Christmas," but then they have turkey where somebody's cooked it to temperature and not just stuck it in the oven, or give it another hour just in case. And the amount of people that tried the turkey that I've cooked that said, "Oh, actually, turkey's all right, isn't it?" So yeah, it does put off people when they cook to time and it comes out dry. They say, "Oh yeah, I'm not a big fan of that cut of meat."
I agree completely. And these people, I say these people who maybe cooked always to time, it's been dictated by the larger businesses. You look at some of the high street supermarket brands, they put time on pretty much everything, and that's for everyone's education is time. Whereas if we can change the mentality of us as individuals to think about temperature, we're going to be cooking that food far better. My biggest message, and I always will, and from a thermometer brand, you need to cook to temperature because you're missing out on very, very good cooked food.
So talking about time, your latest product is something that took 5 years in development and 5 years to bring to market, and it takes just 1 second to take the temperature of your food, doesn't it? Do you want to talk us through it? Talk us about your latest release.
I'm so happy to see this product come onto market. We've worked so hard for the last 5 years, battled through the last year. We don't need to go into detail of COVID, Brexit, and worldwide shortage of components, but we've come across so many hurdles and we've got over them, and we're able to release the product this month. The Thermapen 1 with 1 second readings. Nobody thought we would be able to do it. Even our engineers were really up against it. We thought, 1 second, how can you, the truly instant read, you're taking the temperature as soon as the probe is almost into wherever you're taking the temperature of, and you're almost got to be, the thermometer needs to be as quick as our human eyes to see it. So it's phenomenal effort by all of our engineer team to really bring this to market. There is so much going on inside. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal product, and I'm so proud to be a part of the team here.
I've used it, and I've got to say I'm impressed. Literally just stuck the thermometer in, the readings there. Yeah, absolutely impressed. Who would you say it's aimed at?
Professional chefs or aspiring professional chefs, I would always say. We had a very clear outlook on what we're trying to achieve here, and people who really want that 1 second reading, really want that fast, quick reading. And that is where the Thermapen 1 comes into its own, 1 second reading. So an example of a very busy kitchen, they don't want to be waiting around for any temperatures. Likewise yourself with your Kamado Joe, you got the pit open, you don't want to be losing all that smoke and flavor. So you want to get in there, take your temperature and get out. It's really aimed at those prosumer users who are trying to get maximum flavor, maximum output, and you're going to achieve that with a Thermapen 1.
Jason, the business is built on solid foundations. How important is customer feedback?
Oh, it's huge. It determines the next generation of thermometers. By feedback coming into our development team, by coming through to our designers and understanding how people are using the products, what hurdles have they overcome whilst actually using our product, it's going to be critical for us to improving the product year after year and making a better consumer experience. And that's really where the Thermapen 1s come. We're saying, okay, well, the Thermapen Professional is a great product, and we're discontinuing a great product but replacing it with a phenomenal product where customer service has been paramount for the whole decision process on everything we've been choosing the Thermapen 1.
Look after your customers and the customers look after you. That's the mantra, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And that's something which we're really keen to breathe through our entire business here. And also look after your employees. They look after your customers for you.
You've given us great insight into Thermapen, the history of Thermapen. It's been amazing. But this is a barbecue show, so we're going to ask you a few questions about barbecue, of course. Now, talk us through your barbecue setup. What do you use at home?
I have 3 barbecues I use at my place. I use a Weber kettle. I also use a Traeger Pro 780, I think it is for the bigger joints of meat for that. And I also use a Kamado Joe as well at home, similar to yourself. So I kind of mix between. I don't really have a favorite. I kind of mix depending on whatever I'm cooking. And I love it. As soon as the weather gets good, I'm out there.
You're not allowed to say you don't have a favorite, because you know I'm going to ask what your favorite is.
I would say my favorite at the moment is my Kamado Joe. I cooked last night with my parents. I cooked a great meal on it, and everyone was really happy. Each barbecue is good for different things, I think, and I am in a very fortunate position to be able to own three of the top ones, and it really does. It is a roulette wheel when I walk out the door and say which one shall I use, and it's also down to what I'm cooking as well. There's some things I feel I get a better taste from cooking a certain method on a certain one.
So you've got your 3 grills now. What's your favourite thing to cook on them?
I love cooking beef because you can. It always presents, I think, a challenge with different cuts, with different fat contents within each one. One of my favorite couple this summer have been a good tomahawk steak where you're doing it quite hot and fast. Chateaubriand's also up there with a nice lean cut. So yeah, I think cooking beef in many different methods, but probably at the moment the tomahawk steak's going to cut it above the rest, I think.
That is a good answer.
Now, Jason, you're launching the Thermapen 1, but what other plans have you got for the future?
We're continuously looking at developing great products. The British-made products are received really well all around the world. We touched on how we export all around the world earlier on. We're looking at the next best technologies or what we can put into it and what's going to be usable as well for the customer. So, we don't want to pack it full of technology and it not being useful for the customer. And so we're looking at lots and lots of different avenues to produce high quality British made thermometers, which is going to be received in consumer markets where people are barbecuing at home, also in the commercial market as well, where we would experience seeing them in supermarkets alike.
We look forward to whatever products are brought out, mate, because every one of your products so far has been great.
Absolutely. Now, Jason, thank you for being an amazing guest on the show.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it, and I look forward to coming on again with our next generation of great products.
Cheers, Jason. Much appreciated, mate. You're a star.
Thank you.
A big thank you to Jason. Now, Elky, that Thermapen 1 looks a special bit of kit.
Oh, it's a great bit of kit. I mean, I've been using it over the last few days, and you literally put the probe in and you've got a temperature reading in an instant. Now, I didn't think they can improve on the Thermapen Pro, but they've gone and done it. So, yeah, truly a fantastic bit of kit.
It looks brilliant. Now, thank you for sending us your barbecue photographs, and let's see what you've been up to in What's Cooking. Some great photos there, Elky, but which was your favourite?
There's loads of good ones in there, wasn't there? It was really tough to choose this one, but we're going to go with Grill Fire Barbecue UK. He's knocked up a lovely tandle, his spatchcock chicken. He's done some fried corn ribs, Bombay potatoes, some slaw. Yeah, it just looked great. So that's my choice for this week.
It was a great photo. Now, that's about it for this show. A big thank you to our programme sponsors, Kamado Joe, and our feature sponsors, Thermapen, Barbecue Barn, and Philip Warren Butchers. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, and a massive thanks from me, as always, guys. Like I said, this is pre-recorded, so I might be jumping the gun, but hopefully the next time you see us, we will be champions of Europe. Keep those fires burning, and I'll see you again then.